James. Oh, okay. I can't see this at all. I don't know what's happening when I screenshot from YouTube. The font doesn't show up very well. Okay, so we had a lengthy discussion. I think it was last week. COVID brain on ball placement and stopping the ball on free hits. And there were a few people that really did check in on that concept of, well, but the rules say it has to be stopped stationary. And I say, every rule is subject to 12.1. That's kind of my blanket, like, okay, let's just keep that in mind. And every rule has to be considered in the context of who gains a benefit, who is disadvantaged, and does it matter? All these things. We can be informed. We get our information about those three things from applying the principles of what is the rule trying to prevent. Not just what does the word say or what the definition of that word means. No, we have to take it all within a bigger context. So we were having lots of discussions, and I had lots of side discussions with people on the Discords about stopping the ball. And then James brought this out on YouTube, and it's a really good point. What do we do when a defender who's won a free hit in the circle, stops the ball dead, looks up, but finds they don't have any quick take options they like? So they then start to tap the ball to bring it up to the full 15 meters that they are allowed to move the ball to. Then the other team will rush them and claim the hit was taken since the ball was stationary and the place of the hit was, in their view, established. And to complicate matters, I've also occasionally had defenders do this, and then they hit a very much rolling ball that the other team clearly wasn't expecting to be hit until it was stopped again. And then the defender will claim to have taken the self-pass in the circle. Hi, Rich. Good to see you. So let's see. Casper, did I discuss the Germany PC innovation startup at both PC places left and right, how to manage? Yes, I have talked about that, Casper. And tell you what, come into the Discords and bug me about it, and myself and the crack moderating team will find where we have talked about that in previous. I have definitely talked about it in a previous What Of Wednesday, maybe a couple. So we will find that for you. Okay, it'll happen. But that's a great place to sort of flush that out. Cool. And I'm going to show you how to search on my website soon. But, okay. Squirrel. Let's do this. Thank you for chiming in, everybody in the comments. I absolutely love it. And this feels like a game where I've just got all these things, all these decisions flying at me. It's awesome. Okay. So these are complicated situations that we need to pare back to the basics in order to manage them properly. And I think what we have to always get back to, and just like Nick just popped in the comments, always be thinking about 12.1, always be thinking about what is advantageous or not. So the simple notion of a defender stopping the ball, looking up to see if they have any options, not liking what they have, and then tapping the ball up to the 50-meter mark, that in and itself shouldn't be anything that we're super bothered with. What are they gaining from that? They're simply, they have the right to make a decision as to whether they are going to take the ball from less than 15 meters or up at the top if they wish. That's fine. Just because the ball is stationary doesn't mean that that is the place from which they have decided to take their free hit. There's nothing in the rules that says that the ball has to stay in motion in order for us not to be confused as to whether that's going to be the spot of the free hit. Okay? The advantage that they would gain would be if they suck the pressing attackers into jumping the 5 meters too soon, and you as the umpire penalizing it. Okay, so I have a few examples of, and interestingly, every example I found was one team doing it. I'm not saying that they're cheater pants. I'm just saying they have clearly learned this as a team tactic in order to try to get a player carded.
Long corner, close to the left-hand side. Ockenden,
so here's one here.
Self passes, faced with Hertzberger, goes back again.
Where there's a little bit of a dribble inside. The self pass comes, and then the player stops a little bit. And then instead of continuing with the self pass, they've just dribbled it a little bit over. Sorry, let me mute that for us. That's too loud. So they just take the really minor self pass from outside, inside, and then they come to a dead stop, and they create that confusion in the attacker. Now, what's important here is that you've got an umpire who's stepping up to make themselves present in the play, and they're going to be there to be able to communicate to the players. So what you can do, and what I would recommend that you do in this situation, is you let the players know what you've seen and how you are going to apply the rule. And say, yep, that's taken. Nope, not yet. Very easy. Because you are the boss of this situation, not them. Okay? So in this case, that little dribble, I would have, if I were the queen of the world, I would have been walking up there saying, yep, that's played. That is not coaching. I've heard a few people asking me, oh, my scene. My overlay. Sorry, everybody. So I've had people ask things like, if the ball hasn't traveled outside the circle on a penalty corner, if you tell the players that it hasn't left yet, are you coaching them? I say, no, you're not coaching them, because you're not telling them what to do. You are informing them of what you've seen, and you're informing both teams. And both teams have a myriad of choices that they can make based on the information you've given them. That's not coaching. That's just communication. Nice, proactive, important communication, because what you're there for is not to be a gotcha umpire. You're not there to surprise people with your astounding knowledge of obscure rules and, haha, I got you now. You're there to get the game flowing and to help the players play their best. Not for you to umpire your best. That's just, you're doing that on the side, on the down low all the time. You're there to let the players do their thing. Good to see you, Kat. Warm welcome to you. So I think that's one of the first premises that you have to establish, is that you have the ability as an umpire to communicate to the players what you're seeing and how you're interpreting the situation. If I saw a player, let the ball come to a stop or stop it in front of the 15 meter and then start tapping it, I would just very quietly, I wouldn't do the balloon letting out that we heard at the Euros. That was just getting a little bit overdone. But just quick beep. Hey, everybody. No, we're just going to set it up here. Okay. Nobody gets disadvantaged. Nobody's shorts have to get in a knot. Let's just reset it. Everything's fine. But if you have players who are taking the mick on a regular basis and they're doing some of the things that we're going to see in the next couple clips, you also have the ability to talk to those players and say, would you knock that off? You're not fooling me, and I am going to let things play. You can talk, not with the swear, you can talk to players through that and let them know. The whole question here is, and I don't say this to be disparaging, but are you smarter than the players that you're playing against, that you are umpiring? can you express to them that you understand what their intentions are and that they're not going to fool you? That's all I'm saying. So here's another example of a bit of an ambiguity. Okay, the ball goes off for a sideline hit, and there's a little bit of a stop. There's another stop. It's a little bit here. I'm going to turn the sound on because I want you to hear the whistling work from.
Have the ball on the line.
I think it's Simon Taylor who's out there.
In the right spot.
Okay, so we're going to show this again. So the ball goes off the sideline very close to the 23. It's really helpful in this case to actually indicate to the players already what you want.
Zalewski have the ball on the line.
Okay, and Simon does give a couple peeps to make sure that that ball comes onto the sideline, because this gets a little confusing as to where he's intended to take it. Has he taken it? Where is it stationary? All you have to do is just reset it,
have the ball on the line,
and then maybe give them a knock it off.
Right spot.
Unfortunately, hit the post.
Jensen.
Okay. Let me know if you have any questions on this one, or if you have any sort of, inquiries, that sort of thing. Yup, exactly. It's the same as shouting play on. And I mean, you can argue that play on is actually more instructive and more coaching than saying something like no foul. Because you're actually telling both teams to continue to do one thing, which is continue to play. How they play is a totally different issue, but that's a really good point. It's very, very much the same thing. Mark Cummings, good to see you, friend. So when it gets even trickier is in this kind of situation. And this is something that this clip is sitting in the clip library, and we've had lots of discussions of it. Let me find the volume on this one.
And there's no way Van Obelen.
Okay.
The signs.
So Australia wins a free hit low.
Finally gets his stick on
there.
The ball. Good work from Eddie Ockenden. If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Okay,
No
so he
Van
does
Obelen
exactly what
James
is asking about in this situation.
Is he not? Simon Taylor.
Okay.
That's being a little generous.
And when you listen to, I think that's Charlie. Anyway, when you listen to the commentator, and what I'm saying is there is the possibility that first play, even though it was on the reverse stick, and we don't do a good job as umpires in processing that,
gets his stick on the ball.
And seeing that despite the fact the ball was played with the reverse stick from behind his body, that can absolutely be the start of the self pass. That could actually be the taking of the free hit. And what Ockenden is trying to do there is he's trying to earn. You can see him. Hey, my arms are out. Come on, umpire. He's trying to get Van Obel carded. Simon, of course, smarter than an exceptionally experienced player. And what I would do in this particular situation as well, Simon calms everything down, resets it, and explains to Van Obel, no, I understand. I know there's some ambiguity there. I get it. Okay, it's cool. But I would like him to turn around to Ockenden and say, knock that off. I know what you're trying to do. And the next time, that tackle will be legal and off to the races. Van Obel. The second feint in there is even more than what James's scenario was describing. And that is where I would give them one chance at this confusion. And that is it. Okay. Does that all make sense? Does that all help you with some tools and some proactivity? I think one of the things that we tend to get into is we get trapped in our head processing information, and then we fail to do two things. As soon as we think, our feet stop moving and we stop talking. talking is a great way to stop yourself from thinking. Talking to the players and expressing what you're seeing is a great way to just get outside of this internality. And we think it's happening. We think that people can read our minds and the players can read our minds and know that we're not happy with this, or we've warned about that or anything like that. But if it's not out there, it's still in here. So use your voice and communicate with the players and let them know, and they will process that information. I'm dancing, and they will understand what remedies and what decisions you're going to make in the future. No surprises, right? There are no surprises in umpiring. You are letting the players know what you expect, and then you follow through on those expectations. Just like that. Gian, you're right. I am not here to out anybody who happened to have had a fall on the pitch. However, if a certain someone wasn't fined appropriately for falling on the pitch, you need to re-examine your life choices, friends. So James, yep, that's broadly the kind of case I was trying to describe. I actually find the case of the attacker doing it like that easier to deal with because ultimately they've just hurt themselves. Yeah, when handled well, like in that case. Absolutely. It really did. It sounded good in here. And then when I spoke it out loud, I realized it sounded really stupid. There you go. So by the attacker being the player in possession, who was exactly, right? So if you don't buy into what the player taking the 15-meter free hit or the free hit that was awarded less than 15 meters, if you don't buy into their malarkey and you reset everything, you're giving the defensive team an opportunity to arrange their structure in front of the ball, which is not like that player is trying to take advantage of them not being organized and trying to earn a card. So if you don't do any of those two things, they don't gain an advantage from that behavior. If you don't let them, if you don't buy into the malarkey. So I hope that, does that help, James? I hope that that's given you some tools. Tell me if that hasn't been enough. Be demanding. Be demanding. Okay. I love the third team. You're awesome. And sorry, Mark said, my pleasure. Okay, Kat, that almost self-pass is annoying and reminds me of soccer players who are trying to trick umpires to card people. Yes. Right? We don't like that. Yeah, it's a bit harder when the tackling player is breaking down a play that could have been a self-pass, which everyone realistically knows wasn't. And again, so the technique there is to use your whistle and use your voice to let the player know early that that hasn't been taken yet. So if everybody realistically knows it's not a self-pass and it hasn't been taken, then you're using a voice to say, no, not yet, not yet. Keep your 5. Because then they're getting the advantage, but they have plausible deniability, which makes handing out a card or something look harsh. And that's why you just reset everything. Just reset it all. Once. You are not doing that multiple times in a match. If you have determined, you are the one who determines when the self-pass, when the free hit has been taken. And you communicate that, and then you let the play continue. That happens the next time because you're saying, hey guys, guess what? You don't get to make the decision. I make the decision. You are the boss of you. Show me a clear difference. Otherwise, it'll be play on. Absolutely. Thanks, Leela. Great suggestion. Okay. I hope that was thorough and excellent. And if you want to follow up on that or any other topic that we have today, please go over to the Discord and join in. It's free.